Is everybody around here right now?
I hope so. Let me check.
Hello?
Chair shaker.
Yeah,
I'm
here.
around.
Hey.
My chair's
Can anybody
spinning.
hear me?
Well,
Yes.
technically, I'm in a rectangle,
Boy,
but
tonight,
Oh yeah.
Here we.
tonight is like, yeah, there's a story of a man named Brady.
No, Hollywood Squares, man. Hollywood Squares is what I would have
More
gone
people
for.
for that.
I'll go with what he said.
Well,
So
hey, everybody,
vlog-
welcome to the vlog of many things. We are a vlog of many things tonight.
Now, VMT, so it's
Yep.
not vomit. It's vlog
That's
of many,
right.
vlog of many things.
And as everybody realizes, besides my good-looking mug here, Foogly, Paul Catron, how you doing? We have a special guest tonight, and that is Pauli Kidd. Pauli, how you doing?
Hey. Oh, good. Up early just for
Pauli
you.
Kidd, for those of you who do not know, has been in the gaming industry for at least a few years. Pauli Kidd has done an awful lot of really, really cool stuff. Oh, geez, where do we go from? Um, you were you do right now. You do Lace and Steel, which is your YouTube channel, correct?
Yes. Yeah. At the moment, I do my little Lace and Steel game channel, but I also am still designing role-playing games, and I've just
Yeah.
had a whole bunch of miniatures games published over in the UK with Helion Books and so on. So I do miniatures, I do board games, I do role-playing games. I was one of the world's foundation computer games back in the very early 80s.
Yes, as a matter of fact, for people who
If you-
don't know, you were the lead designer and creator of Shadowrun.
Yes.
Wow.
Did that one? There was another one called Nightshade, which is sort of similarly still
Nightshade.
beloved.
That too.
And I did things like the Lord of the Rings text adventures and
Yep.
the first ever SNES, and I did the first Nintendo game done outside of Japan, that sort of thing. So
Yep. You did Forgotten Realms, Nobles, and Greyhawk.
yes, I've done. I did a Forgotten Realms novel. I did
Yep.
3 of the novels that introduced D&D Third Ed. So
White,
Plain
you did
Descent to the
Descent
Depths
to
of
the
the
Depths of the
Earth, and Queen of the Demon Web Pits.
Now,
And
real quick, for those who just be clarify, you didn't do the modules, you did the books.
yeah, so one of the novels kind of inspired by the books.
Novelizations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were a rip-roaring job, actually. I had a wonderful time.
So-
I've done a Gamma World novel for them as well, so
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's cool.
which was a riot. And then they stopped commissioning novels, which is a damn shame because I was really enjoying doing them.
So, oh man, there's all kinds of pussy on the screen tonight.
Yeah,
I
I think I'm in the middle of writing my 50th novel at the moment, so it's been a busy
50th.
life.
Steve Lake, you got competition. Now, Paul, real quick, it's interesting to me, and maybe to a bunch of other people, maybe in chat. Tell us, what led up to Shadowrun? What was your role in it? How was that game developed? You know, because it's such a pivotal game. I remember Shadowrun as a kid. I loved it.
So I will spill the tea. So.
Spill the tea.
So I helped organize I got involved with role-playing games because when I first hit high school, day one in high school, I found the FX Book of Ancient Wargaming, the purple primer, and it opened up an entire new world for me. I joined a war games club and had the time of my life. So when Dungeons and Dragons appeared, it came into those gaming clubs. We actually knew Gygax and those guys because the miniatures community around the world, we corresponded old school with each other all the time, and if someone brought out rules, you got sets. But so I really wanted to be a RPG designer, so I actually contacted like Gygax and Arneson and a couple of other people who I kind of don't like.
Yeah, that was back in the
days.
day when you could actually write someone and they'd write you back.
They wrote back. So a couple of them became real mentors to me, and we stayed in touch all my life. And same went with writers like Jack Vance and so on. We became fast friends. But I helped organize the first gaming conventions in Australia. And so, fresh out of university and unemployed, with a degree in things like history, literature, and game theory.
Mhm.
There was just an advert in the paper from a computer games company, and they were looking for a designer because computer games at that point had been largely designed by the programmers. So they were kind of
Yeah.
getting a bit more technical, given the constraints of the machines in about 1983. But the gameplay wasn't any good because that wasn't their priority. That wasn't their skill. So they got me in initially freelance and then full time to essentially be the game design department, where I invented other gentle arts like testing for bugs, which no one had bothered to do, and
Mhm.
so things like the Lord of the Rings text games. They were. I did all the dialogue for the first one. I did the designs and everything on the other ones. But these guys put games out without testing them. So I would sit down afterwards and did no one give it a run? So as a role-playing gamer, you do the horrible things that role-playing gamers do and just make horrendous comedies. You play the game. So in that game, the Black Riders, for some reason, when you were in Bree as the hobbits, the Black Riders actually have their horses tied up under trees somewhere as they infiltrate the town. But if you could go out there and you could basically horribly stab these horses to death. For the rest of the game, it's you're going through the wilderness. On a far hill, you see 3 Black Riders. They are on 3 dead horses. Black Rider number 1 attempts to pursue. He cannot. His horse
But
is dead.
what got you? But what got you kind of in the game, like being the developer, and what was that process to get you working as a developer?
For initially, I literally came on and I designed. They asked me to do some freelance designs and come up with ideas for them, which I did.
Uh-huh.
And they needed a writer to do dialogue and descriptions on many other games, and they just found I was essentially indispensable. You needed someone, and as gaming platforms appeared, when the Nintendo turned up, we reverse engineered it because they wouldn't tell us how it worked. They'd let us do games, but they wouldn't tell us how it worked. So we just cracked it with a hammer, and found it was just using C64 cards and so on. But you actually needed people who could then sort of design platform games and design levels. So it slowly expanded into a massive department of 2. But the culture at the games company was they despised the designers because programmers are real. A writer is just doing a job they figure that they would do if they had enough time, but they don't because they're important. So these scum will do it. So it was an incredibly toxic culture. We actually had a sign over our tiny little design cubicle, and they were going for a grant once. Someone came through, and they read the Latin, and it basically said, abandon all hope. He who enters the gates of Dis, here you join the forgotten people. And it's like, oh shit.
Well, you got a question, Pauli. Paul Catrone asked you, Pauli, what was the first computer gaming system you developed for the Commodore 64?
First computers for the C64? Oh, I think probably the. I came in at the end of The Hobbit by Melbourne House, so I know that came out on Apple and C64 and Spectrum and those sorts of things. And then the Lord of the Rings text games would have been next on that. And after that, for C64, things like Judge Dredd and 100 different movie things. So we did a lot of movie-based games and so on. When Shadowrun turned up, what had happened there was time had moved on. The Super Nintendo had turned up, and what they did was first off, I had become a producer, which meant I was in charge of running games development, and the company really didn't like me very much, but we did a gumshoe game called Nightshade, and it was a bit lackluster. So I sat down with a designer called. It was just plain kind of gumshoe. I just felt it did its job, but there were so many other games that did the job. There wasn't anything that made this super special. So I sat down with a programmer called Jeff Kamenek, and we spent a weekend of our own time cackling like demons as we changed all the dialogue to be comedic, and changed the descriptions on everything. So there's jokes and hidden things everywhere. And we sent the end publisher, which was Electronic Arts, I think. Both versions, like, well, here's the straight-laced Gumshoe Series 1, and here's the one recast as a comedy. You choose which version you would like to run with. And they chose the comedy. So we spruced that up, and that's what went to press. And the guys that ran the company were furious because it's like, how dare you make these changes to a game? And it's like, it's my sodding project. It's mine. And I asked the end publisher what they desired in their heart, and I gave it to them. So the Shadowrun project had been sitting there. It used to take about a year to do a game, and they'd let this thing lie fallow for about 6 months. So what they actually wanted to do was get rid of me. So they knew I was like the role-playing, one of the role-playing greats of Australia at that time, because I'd had role-playing games out and so on. So they slung it at me, thinking that it would fail. And of course, we got it done in 6 months, and it ended up as a classic. And when the thing came in with like straight 10 out of 10 reviews in every single games magazine, that made them even less happy. So they just decided that they didn't need a design department anymore. So they just fired us bafflingly. And then of course the company died. So
my question for you is was this before you came out as trans?
Yes, it was. So that was back in the 80s and 90s.
So you don't think that was part of their reasoning behind it, then, their decision?
No, I mean, I've always been somewhat ostracized because I didn't seem to match the straight male mold very well. You speak like some English intellectual, and your gestures are so feminine and everything. So whatever, pal.
Now you've also worked. You did some novels for Dungeons and Dragons. You did like Forgotten Realms, Noble is Greyhawk, White Plume Mountain, Descent in Depths of the Earth.
Yep.
What got you? What got you with those? What got you? How did you, this Australian writer creator, get hooked up with Wizards of the Coast, TSR, doing these novels?
So all through that computer game designing experience, I was working on novels. I wanted to be a novelist, and I had people like Jack Vance and so on cheering me on. So I scraped my pennies together, and I did what you're supposed to do. I went to the USA and went to conventions, and I got to Worldcon in San Francisco, I think, and I managed to wrangle an invite to the Tor Books party. Tor Books take over the penthouse of whatever con hotel Worldcon is in, and they run a snooty ass party which is entirely really for publishers and big name authors, really. But I got in there and I was disgusted. It was a giant casting couch party, was what it was. I was horrified, and there was another gentleman there who was as horrified as I was. We just met each other's eyes and say, I'm going to push people down elevator shafts if I stay here any longer. So we went down to the bar to begin drinking heavily. And it turned out he was Rob King, who was the fiction editor newly hired for TSR. They had decided to open a fiction line. So we just got talking and just had a similar gaming experience, and we actually became great friends or whatever. But of course he said, you don't have any novels you'd like published, do you? And it's like, I just have a manuscript right here, sort of thing. So that was Muss of Kerbridge, which was the first novel I'd written. And so that was put out by TSR. And the cover for that was actually done by Janelle Jacques, and was her favorite painting. Actually, she kept it all through her life. She kept the cover of Muss.
Now you knew Janelle pretty well, did you?
Yes, because I had been going to Gen Con because I'd done my own role-playing games and was running a table there. And Janelle had actually done the covers for, I've got it here somewhere, for, she did all the art for the Pocket Micro game Chitin 1, which is one of my favorites of all time.
Mhm.
And so we'd met and chatted happily back and forth, and she actually gave me all the artwork from Chitin, so I've still got that here. And
Mhm.
she actually had the Mus cover painting, sort of, hey, I did the cover for your book. Holy cow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it started a long time association with the editorial department at TSR, and they would actually phone me up sometimes just to bitch, which was rather funny. So when the first of the D&D movies came out, I got TSR staff phoning me up saying, "We've been to the staff premiere. If there were some people with broken lives who really couldn't show their faces in public anymore, Australia's big. You could find places to hide us, right?" So, yes, I can. We'd have to put a paper bag over your head, but
Well, well, you mentioned working at the tail end of TSR. Um, you, you what was your opinion of working with TSR? I mean, as a creative, um, was there people that were difficult to work with? Were there people that you really enjoyed working with? So maybe let's
I,
start like this.
I found,
In,
yeah. Oh, sorry.
in working with TSR, what are some of the names that pop out that you really liked working with, and why?
I loved Rob King. Rob King was cheerful, happy, and knew his damn job. And um, as an editor, as a book editor, you could talk back and forth. They had other editors turn up who would essentially try and grab your book and rewrite entire sections of it. They were all frustrated authors. And so they would rewrite entire chunks of your novel and try and push that out as the final draft. You would catch them, and it literally almost got down to knife fights. You touch my book again, I'm coming over there and setting
But
fire to the
really, but
office.
but seriously, Paulie, but isn't that kind of an editor's job is to rewrite and show you where the lacking parts of your book are at, or
Under
what
no
is?
circumstances ever. They can discuss sections and discuss how you might wish to change them, but then
Uh
if it turns out that is what you both decide to do, the author will change it. The editor
Yeah.
will not sit down and rewrite 20 pages of your book in
No,
their
no, I'm not
style.
saying that. I
So,
guess maybe you're misunderstanding what I mean. You know, isn't an author's or an editor's job to sit down and say, "Hey, Paulie, chapter 4 doesn't work, and this is the reason why chapter 4 doesn't work, and you really should change it."
yeah, that's actually what they never did. My books are always very polished, so we never had that problem. But they would just get an idea, and you get a final draft to look at, and there's 3 chapters in there that you didn't write because they had an idea and just kind of
Mhm.
chucked them in there. It's like, no, 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 no,
Mhm.
no, 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 no. That's your own book. Go and write
Gotcha.
that.
Well,
So it's
Diana's
very
asks
strange.
you, did you ever work with Stephen R. Marsh out of curiosity?
I don't think I worked with Steve Marsh. No, I did work with Jeff Grubb, um, who was nice enough. The problem, so I did find that their command of English was pretty low. Rob King actually sent me a thing that they sort of had hidden in their department there because TSR used to pay you by the word for many projects. So it was a guide to how to write for
Hmm.
TSR. And it's like, now remember, you're being paid by the word. So what not to
Yeah.
do? And it's like, Rykan the Ranger went into the market. How much is that sword, good fellow? 10 gold pieces. Excellent. And off
Hmm.
he went. It's like, no, it should be like, Rykander walked into the busy markets. He walked up to the man. How much is that sword? Well, it used to be 25, but I think we can knock it down to 10 for you, sir. Good.
Hmm.
Here's the money. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, see, we've stretched this out to 500 useful words, but
So what
they
are
had a
some other
pretty poor
people at
command of
TSR
English.
that you worked with that you really enjoyed your time with?
I actually I'd met Jeff Grubb at a Gen Con, and he seemed a bright and happy chap. And
Uh-huh.
so we made friends. I found as an editor, he meant well, but I think he was being massively undermined by management. So he made me a lot of offers that in the end turned out to be essentially they scammed me for an awful lot of free work, which is a multi-million-dollar company, and me as a very, very poor, impoverished writer was pretty cruel, to be honest.
Oh, TSR did that to you?
Yeah. So the Gamma World book, the deal on the Gamma World book was I did it for 1/3 of what they would normally advance, but the deal was this was going to be they wanted a 5-book Gamma World deal done, and they wanted me to do regular columns in the Dragon magazine, and they were going to be paying me like about $1,500 US a month for doing these columns, and I was going to be the Gamma World guru. I was going to be doing games content for Gamma World as well. It was essentially going to be handed over to me. I was to be Gamma World. So, all right, to kick that off, I was willing to take a hit on the book, because that sounds, again, impoverished writer, my God, I've got an income. And suddenly the deal's not there, it's not being mentioned, and next thing, Jeff's not working for that company anymore. And yeah, you can all naff off. So
you worked with, if you were working in Gamma, then you worked with Jim Ward.
Yes, and that soured a bit in later years because I knew him and we talked back and forth a lot with the Gamma World thing. And Gamma World, the reason they had me as a Gamma World guru, it was the first campaign I ran way back in the 70s, and it has remained, I think, pretty much my favorite game all the way through. I've always loved Gamma World. And again, Jim was one of those people that I corresponded with way back in the 70s and 80s and stayed in touch with. In his later years, he became very outspokenly right-wing and very anti-trans, and we had some unfortunate conversations where he was going on about, you know, trans conspiracies to destroy the world. And you do know who you're talking to, don't you? Oh, that's all right. You're one of the good ones. Like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Well,
all right.
I mean,
End
I think
communication.
maybe it was part of the time, though. I mean, societies change, it evolves. People, you know, things change. I mean, because from what I understand later on in life, you know, Jim was very welcoming to a lot of people and other people, and was, you know, not outspoken in any negative way against the gay or trans community. As a matter of fact, quite the opposite. From what I heard.
Yeah, there were some very strange conversations. I just sort of had to let him drift off a bit there. The one that broke my heart was M.A.R. Barker. He was the one who answered me when I was a kid. I loved Empire of the Petal Throne, and he encouraged me, because I was quite a historian even in like teenage years, to go to university, to get those history and literature degrees, be a game designer, be a writer. And we stayed in pretty close correspondence till the end of his days. He really was my mentor. So I had like a EPT campaign that ran for about 20 years, with you know, players coming in and out, and then, you know, when he died, out comes the Double Life, where it turns out he's one of the founders of Holocaust Denial and had run one of the key magazines that founded the American.
Oh, I've never heard of that. Yeah, I never heard that about him.
I did.
Oh yeah, horrifying.
Definitely.
And
It was
so,
and the thing is, the Historical Society knew and kept the information.
that's what drove me
sealed
mad,
for-
because they knew it and they hid it. And myself and a couple of artists were really hoping to get in and relaunch,
so
or help
basically,
relaunch the thing.
This was well known behind the scenes, even.
Yes.
Yeah, it was, and it was kept under wraps. And when this started leaking out, I actually had somebody reach out to me who was going from the Mar Barker Society that was going to give me details, and then they went silent. I'm assuming because somebody told them not to talk, which is fine. It all leaked out anyway. But
Oh,
yeah,
dreadful.
it was just
He wrote Nazi books.
hell.
He wrote one of the ones that
Yep.
a Nazi fiction
Yeah.
about you know, sterling white men wiping out the you know, the queers and the racially impure. It's like, oh my
The
god.
So
undesirable.
he went flat out Voldemort and
Broke my heart.
Yeah.
Johnson
because-
Publishing. Jeez.
But it so there was myself and a couple of artists like Jeff D who were really keen on. I wanted to do proper novels in the setting and help launch it. And Jeff D and I were going to get together and essentially redo Empire of the Petal Throne, so it'd be an OSR product, and we would add in some of the extra creatures and things that have been developed over the years, but have it EPT because it's a wonderful OSR game. But no, we just threw our hands up and says, well, look, frankly, we'd rather the property just die, because there were a lot of people leaning into it to say, see, this has always been a right-wing space. RPGs are for pure white men. And it's like, well, yeah, let's not give anyone any tools to back up that claim.
Now, to kind of move on to happier things a little bit, you've also done some work. You were doing some, if I understand right, you did some nonfiction strategy guides for, I believe, Discworld.
Yeah. Well, I did the Discworld computer games, so I'd been very, very long term.
Oh, you did those computer games?
Yeah, those are mine.
Oh,
I'd been very long-term friends with Terry Pratchett. I'd met Terry at a Worldcon, and we were the only Commonwealth sort of people in the Meet the Guests party, because we were both guests. So we hung out together to diss the Yanks, and we just became fast friends ever since. So when they were doing a game, I got called in to do the game. So I lived in the UK for a couple of sort of 18-month stints doing the first two of those games. And so yeah, that was interesting. I actually got I was over there for 18 months. Actually got most of the writing done within 2 months, and then spent a lot of time swiping a company car and traveling the UK, because they were supposed to be paying me like per diem and everything, and they never did. And most of the payment, and it is an unfortunate story again, because the payment was supposed to be a bulk payment after publication, and these guys basically essentially took the money and ran. No one on that project got paid. We all got stiffed. And the property itself was like sold on to another publisher, but the actual people who made it never saw a cent. And so I actually lost my house over that one, which is why I'm now living with friends. And that is actually what kind of ended me with the computer games industry, because I've been preyed on many times and I wasn't the only one. So no, that we're done except for special commissions. And now I'm old and vicious. It's like, so what would it take to get you to work on this project? Pay me up front. That's it. No milestones, no bulk payment at the end, because I don't trust. I have a history of people scamming me that way. And when people say, what advice could you give to young designers starting out, it says you need to learn essentially how to be brave enough to tell someone, I don't do a keystroke for you without evidence that there's at least money in escrow accounts, because otherwise you will be scammed. They would cheerfully carve up your children and sell the bodies to zoos for meat if they could get away with it. The computer games industry is ruthless. I ended up writing a lot for like film and Hollywood, and they are actually better to deal with, because at least they're a bunch of lying pirates. No one cozies up to you and say, yeah, trust me, I'm the one you can trust. Of course you are. And I absolutely do. Put the money in the escrow account.
Now, you also wrote a book called The Mouse of Kepridge?
Mouse of Kerbridge. Yeah, that was the first one I did. So that's what TSR published.
Okay. And what was that? Tell us about that book.
It was basically the Lace and Steel novel, which was one of the early role-playing games I did. So Moose is I don't quite write like that anymore, but Moose was very much a sort of a fairy tale. It had a very 1640s English Civil War, Three Musketeers kind of setting. And it was in a world where there is magic and so forth. There are fantasy races and creatures, but given that Baroque setting, they are Baroque creatures, so they tend to be Romanesque. There are centaurs, there are satyrs, there are harpies, and these sorts of creatures. And the setting was one I developed for my Lace and Steel role-playing game, and it was the central character was a mouse, an actual mouse that had been sort of magicked. Someone was going to use it as a spy, and then it becomes this sort of central character as the mighty kingdom is invaded, and the mouse kind of saves people, and there's a mighty siege. And because the wargaming background and a big chunk of my history degree, wackily enough, was it's a 17th century history, but particularly focusing on English Civil War and so forth. So there was some very realistic sort of combat and battle scenes and naval scenes, and it took off. It is still in print. It ended up coming out in German, Spanish, Russian, Polish, and is still out there. And it was an early experience. Actually, I'd go to a convention, and some incredibly beautiful young lady would walk up to you. It's like, "Oh, you wrote my favorite book as a child," and it's like, "Ah."
Now, what would you say to aspiring young authors and creators? What advice would you give them if they said, "Paulie, how do I get into this business? I'm 15 years old and I really want to do this for a living. How can I break into it?" What would you tell people?
I always think with any particularly game project, I try and tell people I would love to see your ideas have 3 points of difference from the other things out there. Make things that stand out. And that can just be you've got a very different, bright way of presenting, or you've got a different setting, or you've come up with great game mechanics, sort of. But there has to be essentially your selling points. What makes this? Why would I get this rather than this game? But as far as projects go, I keep telling people, I was having this conversation yesterday, one project at a time, do it until it is finished, and learn when to say it's finished and walk away and do the next one. But never have 2 or 3 things on the go. You will never get them done. Focus like a laser on one job, do the job, do the next job. And there will be big patches between them where you are just gathering your ideas and trying to find new inspiration. Don't stress about it. That is working as well. That reset is, if you're I've lived my whole life as an author, and I will sometimes spend months between projects, watching old TV shows or, watching the cicadas climbing the trees, whatever I need to. And then an idea will gel, and then out come the notes.
Now, anybody in here, got any questions, any ideas for Paulie, or?
I just been enjoying listening to the stories.
Well, let me ask you this then. As far as, all right, it's a lot of water under the bridge, so to speak, in gaming and culture and stuff since the 80s. Okay. What would you say is one of the biggest issues right now that faces the gaming community in general?
While it has been interesting seeing the role-playing gaming community shift from incredibly niche to pop culture, the takeover of a lot of role-playing by pop culture big business has had an effect. We are getting dumber games, and we're getting games that are focused more on flash and presentation than actual setting, meat, feeling. A game is trying to take you on an emotional journey as a player. It's trying to put you in a place and put you in a story. And I think computer game culture, where very simple stories are told with very simple adventures and amassing more and more powers and more widgets so that you can kill, basically, you are a death-dealing monster in most of these games, has turned the sort of the flagship role-playing games in particular into that experience just on paper. And a lot of the more creative and interesting products that indie publishers do are having a lot of trouble competing because we can't meet the art budget of a Wizards of the Coast, Every page a giant color original painting. That's just an expense we can't weather, but those are sort of the production values people are expecting, and the amount of online support and marketing backup and backup widgets. Essentially, your voice is hidden. It's very hard to even let anyone know what your games are. Whereas in those 80s, if someone put a game out, everyone knew it. We knew every game that came out because it was a fairly tight community.
Well, we'll get back to it one second. Let me go quickly get Paul's question. He says, Paulie, tangential question. Are you involved in any capacity with Tomas Perian and John Blanche's En Garde 75mm miniature game?
Is that Osprey? I'm not. I've played the original On Guard a lot, which is pretty much the world's first role-playing game in publication. Came out, I think, just before D&D did. But no, I'm not involved in that one. Though English company are bringing out a miniatures range for it that I saw, because I'm in that sort of 17th century sword waving community. I guess a weird tangent too is that one of the things that's always come through in my books is, although the romance and so on, and particularly exploration and so on is a thing. Combat's always been a thing because I've been a swordsman all my life, and ended up sort of a pretty top. Initially, I was a top level épée fencer and sabreur, and in later life became sort of one of the Southern Hemisphere experts in Kobudo, Japanese traditional weapons. So, and have ended up getting second dan black belts in obscure things like fencing with spears while wearing full armor and these sorts of things. So yeah, that does come through in the books pretty heavily. If there's a fight, I try and make it well done.
Now, what's your opinion of AI in gaming today? I mean, in your opinion, is there a place for it? Is there not? What is your overall thought of that as far as AI in gaming and also in writing?
I do not like to see it in art, really, because all through the 90s, I was sort of part of the black and white comics scene. I wrote hundreds of comic books. And again, I was part of the poor artist community. AI takes work out of the hands of a creative community that has so much to offer us. And it does that by stealing their work and remixing it. So, it's the very existence of the AI art is actually making us poorer by essentially starving these people out. They can't do art anymore, and we lose those ideas. And think of all the great RPG illustrations you've seen that kind of lit up your world. AI writing, I find to be an abomination. My stuff has been stolen. Wizards took all my books to go into their AI, and essentially what they're planning on doing is using AI to make D&D books, novels. And that's why they're not commissioning really anymore. It's like they're hoping AI will just do stories for them. You subscribe, you get more AI written story. But so again, most authors are incredibly poor. I'm probably the most impoverished person you'll ever met, but it's been a joyous life and it was my choice. But this takes bread out of our hands as well. I went to a club actually, and these guys were actually getting AI to write adventures for them to do. They were going to Chat GPT and do
that's
me
real
a D&D
popular
5th edition
for
adventure.
personas.
Blat, down it came, and it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. So besides what we know that you got going right now, I mean, you have Stars and Sales and everything and that going on. Any other projects on the side going on right now? Do you have any books in the works? Are so what's coming up with Pauli Kidd?
Well, we got Stars and Sales coming out through Wizards. I've been hoping that I've been hoping to do a lot more with you actually. So there are other projects like the Snark Grease, which is essentially a magical wizard school
Yep.
game.
Excuse me.
There are other role-playing games that I've sort of I've actually sent through to you, like things like a Bronze Age one that I did.
Bronze Age.
I would like to do some systems. I would like to try and find a big thing. So I've got to like sit down, with a publisher and have a talk about doing a system that will be that company's system. Chaosium has this basic role playing. These guys have D6. Let's do a thing. I will be doing more miniatures games. War Games Atlantic is putting out box sets of miniatures with my rules in them at the moment, and they might. I'm leaning on them, hoping that they'll give me more.
Good deal.
I'm in the middle of doing a Snarkberries novel at the moment, which is turning out to be rather fun and buoyant. A rip-snorting set of adventures of kids at a magical wizard school. Made all the funnier because I have never read any of J.K. Rowling stuff in my entire life. So, but I'm just really hanging out for her obituary, to be honest. But
Nice.
but that should be a riot. So I'm back to doing novels and so on again.
Oh, good. So you got some things in the works then.
Yeah, and there's also another kind of weird creative side people don't see, because I'm actually a dancer. So I've gotten to that stage where I'm being asked to do.
Yeah, you sent me some of your dancing earlier today.
That was my burlesque solo. So I'm now being booked for festivals and things, which as a 61-year-old trans woman is an absolute hoot that I'm out there doing burlesque in front of crowds. And I also dance, like belly dance. And,
including
Hollywood.
costume malfunctions.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, burlesque
handled well.
You'll strip gloves and you can take your bra off, but you're supposed to keep like pasties on. That's what the tassels are. I had a. It's not real burlesque until there's a costume malfunction, and those damn pasties. Nothing on this earth will keep those on. I don't know why they bother. It's a 30s habit, but I have fired those things off into crowds like bullets. I think I could take an eye out with those things. It's like, sorry.
Well, good deal.
I actually did. I went to India last year, and I travel a lot because I scrape my pennies together and travel because I'm Australian. We can do that, and I wrote a book about traveling India, which I actually gave to you, Don. So I don't know if you're still planning on publishing.
Yeah.
But I had just started HRT, hormone replacement therapy, before I went, so it's kind of traveling this weird world I was in while going through all the changes of starting HRT. So it was an interesting journey.
And that'll be covered in the book really well. So
turned out to be a dangerous place for a trans woman to travel, but an interesting one nonetheless. I got to sleep in 11th century fortresses in the middle of the Rajasthan desert, and there are those funny moments. Trans women are sacred to Lord Shiva. So you'd be going down through some areas, and there'd be a gaggle of old women following behind me. And I have some watchers on my channel who are Indian, so I messaged them. So what's going on? Said, they want a blessing, but they're not allowed to ask. It's like, well, I've got a queue. How do I do a blessing? So, right, here's how. And in the South, there are a lot of Hindu mystics, and they presume that you're a mystic as well, because so you'd walk down the street and there'd be a man stark bollock naked except for streaks of ash, and he'd always like come over and like give you a greeting, hail fellow traveler. It's like, and hail to you, naked man, wherever you're going today. Into the freezer section.
You definitely live an interesting life. I'll give you that.
Most definitely.
You have an interesting life. So, real quick, we're getting towards the last 15 minutes of the show. Real quick, let me get with Eric real quick on some. Eric, what's the latest news in gaming? Anything happening in gaming?
Relatively quiet, except for the fact that we're no longer going to have a pure BX clone.
No, we're not. Imagine
now that OSC is abandoned. Yeah, OSC is basically combining the BX classic rules into the advanced OSC rules.
So there's kind
of a little bit of a hole in the market.
It's an interesting time then, especially for BX.
I don't cry for it.
Yeah.
I've had
What's that?
My shelf for a long time.
You don't like BX?
I love BX. But if I can get a little extra, like, the advanced stuff translated into it, yeah.
Okay. Listen, I have all of Gavin's stuff. I'm still waiting on Dolanwood. Is that an update? I'm still waiting. Everybody else has done unboxings.
How
I'm
long's
still
that
waiting.
been on now? Going for?
I don't know. It's been shipping for the last month. I've had people tell me, "Oh, I got in on it after the Kickstarter, and I got mine already." I'm like,
That's not a really good thing to do, though, for the people that ordered it after the Kickstarter to get it before the Kickstarter people.
I don't know if they were in the States or not. There's a whole, because of the tariff situation, they had to do a lot of moving stuff around.
I had a question. I had a question about OSC. I saw your stuff, and you're losing basic OSC, but you got advanced and stuff. But this is like a new edition coming out. Have they changed?
It's going to be a new edition coming out.
Yeah.
I believe it's no longer going to be OGL. I think it's going to go Creative Commons.
That's what I was wondering. This is another step away from the OGL?
It quite possibly could be. And listen, let's call it for what it is. It's an excuse to run another Kickstarter. Okay, I mean that's what it comes down to. Now I already have the BX Essentials, Old School Essentials, Old School Essentials Enhanced. I have the box sets. I have the books. God bless Gavin, and I'm already waiting on Dolanwood. God bless him. It's a great business,
Eric,
but
could it be these guys are basically giving up a lot by switching gears?
They're giving up a lot by not having a straight BX line.
Could it be?
And I say that as somebody who has my BX books right at my desk.
Well, just go back. Just go back to Laboratory. You can still find it out there.
Yeah, Dan's disappeared on us, unfortunately.
I know, but you still.
I love him dearly, but I don't know what's going on.
Dan, work on 2E Labyrinth Lord. There's been nothing on that for well over a year. So that stick a fork in it.
But you still find the original, so.
Yeah, well, listen, I've already heard the excuse. You can still find the originals as reprints on drive-thru. Well, actually, no, you can't, because this is not POD. It's only PDF on drive-thru. Yeah. So,
but from what I hear, that may even be. I mean, I think there's a lot of things in the works. There's too much happening right now with BX that doesn't give me the idea that there's something going on with BX.
Well, and not only that, but just in general with WOTC, somebody pointed out, Jim Kitchen, that all of a sudden WOTC's catalog of upcoming releases has started to thin out. Almost like things that were in the works are being potentially canceled to clear the plate for whatever the new regime at WOTC wants to bring back, because they do seem to be more interested in old school gaming and the OSR than the recent leadership there. So, you know what? It's going to be an interesting 2026.
Yes.
I'll say that.
Hold on a second.
All right, Paul. Again, it's going to. I understand. It's a great business decision by Gavin. Don't get me wrong. I don't begrudge anything. Okay, I have a pension. I can't begrudge anyone who's making a living off this hobby.
So, they're making a profit off the hobby. What the hell's that? A profit off the OSR?
Off the hobby, you know? It's like the kid from Home Alone.
So I guess for people in chat, or even people in our little Brady Bunch thing here, this isn't Brady. Oh wait, is this like Brady Bunch? Wait a minute here.
You need about 3 more in the middle.
You need 3 more, or it could be.
Could we be all the kids without the parents? And Alice.
Oh, yes,
Marsha.
Who volunteers to be the 3 very lovely girls? Are we one? You be one.
Yeah.
Beans, come here.
I'd be in it, but they don't have room for a village idiot.
We're just a lively bunch tonight. You know that, guys and gals?
Well, we're not a Brady Bunch. We're a lively
No, we're just
bunch.
Brady Bunch.
All right, I gotta ask. Right.
Oh, I was going to say, I think even though here in Michigan we fell back an hour and lost an hour, it's messed with me all week.
And we're getting snow now too. They're saying.
Oh
yeah. Saturday's supposed to be possibly a bunch of lake effect. It depends on how the cold front moves through.
How many inches are we supposed to get?
They said it could range anywhere from an inch to 10.5 an inch to 10.5 inches.
Wait a minute.
Wait.
Hold on.
That makes no sense.
All of the models right now are in disagreement, so they have this great big range of 1 to 10 inches. So,
holy shit!
I haven't seen snow in 30 years. I guess
I ain't seen 10.5 inches in all my life.
I don't need to see any more snow.
I don't know what
10.5 inches. What the hell is that, man?
Well, I used to see that, and then HRT. You know,
I'm just your normal white guy, so never mind that. You know what I mean?
I think we're
that was a joke, by the way. Everybody needs to laugh.
Right, he's not normal. Oh, did I say that?
We're crossing the 100-degree Fahrenheit thing. It'll stay that way for the next 4 months.
Okay. My question for my group of esteemed guests here. Wait a minute. We only have a couple of guests.
I'm looking around.
Glenn's looking around for esteemed. All right. Ideas for WizardCon, ladies and gentlemen. I need help.
Well,
Chat.
No, you don't.
Chat. Help us out here.
Oh, let the chat help.
Why don't we? What are some good ideas to bring into WizardCon? We thought about, we're going to have, of course, the auction, the raffles. We're going to have some props. But what are some good ideas to bring into WizardCon?
I gave you
Frank Menser is no longer. By the way, real quick, Frank Menser is no longer coming to WizardCon.
Why am I not surprised?
What's that?
Why am I not surprised?
Don't be surprised.
Well, here it always.
But Heidi Gygax and Eric Gygax Garland, they've confirmed that they are coming.
Good.
Merle Rasmussen is Operation Vienna is a go.
The man.
So he's definitely coming. So we got Heidi and Eric coming. We got Eric and Rach coming. We got Mr. Lake is coming. We have Mr. Hallstrom's coming. My lovely wife Tina is coming. Pauli? Come on, you can go to Vietnam.
I think even in about 69, it was probably safer there.
Come on. Man, in North Texas, we get Raggy coming here from frickin'.
Yeah, it's only across the pond. This is
from frickin' Finland. He comes out here.
Yeah. But my thinking is
in all seriousness, the USA is listed as a place of most danger for transgender people. I would be very likely.
I will have to say something though, Pauli. In all seriousness, since you brought up a lot of that, is really blown out of proportion. It really is. I have a lot of friends who are gay and transgender here in the States, and I think a lot. I'm not saying a lot of it ain't true, but I think a lot of this is, in Michigan we have a thing called lake effect snow. Well, in the United States we have a thing called news effect bullshit. Because the news media gets their hands on it, and let's face it, nobody wants to hear about anything positive. They want to hear about, and Eric will be attest to this. They don't want to talk about the police officers who do the really good positive stuff. They center on that one cop in bumfuck Egypt, excuse my French, who did something horrible. And
here's the other reality to it too, in this whole situation is, the U.S. is essentially 50 states, which in another place would be 50 countries. So I live in New York. I live in New York City. I see it all. I've lived it all. I've worked in the village. Nothing phases New Yorkers. Nobody looks at anybody. You could walk down here with a third arm in your back, and people would go, All right, that's new. And keep on walking. We don't. It doesn't even phase us. You do that maybe in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah.
It's a very regional thing. So, generally speaking, the more north and west you are, the more people don't even notice.
Yeah, the trouble
That's
is,
been my
as
experience.
a very noted transgender activist, there is a substantial chance of my being seized at the border. And it
Well, I
comes
mean,
down
in
to,
all reality, Pauli, I mean,
do you bet your
you are
life?
right. I mean, sadly, there's some cross realities that happen here, and I have known Pauli now. Pauli, how long? We've 3-4 years now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I publish your products. I'm proud of it. I have caught a lot of shit and a lot of flack for being very openly pro transgender and pro gay. I even made a video on it. You know that video that I did on YouTube. But I think a lot of the problem that we have here is and Eric talked about this a lot on one of his other videos, is social media has allowed us to really create our own little fish bowls, our own little villages. And, you know, I can have a group that, um, if you don't agree with Don, you're out type thing. And I will thus attract like-minded people, and it's sad that we got to do that. But, and Eric and all of us have talked before about this, me, Eric, and Tom, who originally founded the Vlog of Many Things, and Steve, and I've known Steve for almost 20 years now. The thing is, and I'll pick on Eric. Me and Eric probably do not agree with a lot of things politically. That's a safe assumption between me and Eric.
I think we agree on more than we disagree on, but I'm sure we disagree.
But we disagree on some fundamental things. But the difference between me and Eric and a lot of other people is I respect Eric. And I can say, Eric, I may not agree with you on issue A, B, and C, but you know what? You have a right to have that opinion about issue A, B, and C. Because, and again, I'll just pick on Eric. And what's his name? Your biggest fan on the internet? Oh, you can't even mention your name in certain groups, and this fucker goes in and starts trashing you.
Action Andy.
Yeah, Action Andy. Yeah, Andy Markham, whatever his name is. I will defend Eric to the teeth because few reasons. Number one is back during the whole LaNasa new TSR thing, I was thoroughly vettedly warned against Eric Tenkar. Watch out for this guy. This guy is, one-sided media. He will, and you know what? I met Eric. Yeah, but the thing is, I met Eric in kind of a weird way. You messaged me, Eric, and that was at the height.
Well, I got the anonymous email dropping me information.
But the thing is, I'll say something, and that is, that's why you have to be very careful what you see on the internet, because Eric is in no way what I was told. And, I consider Eric a very good friend of mine. I mean, if Eric called me tonight at 3:00 in the morning and said, Don, I need help, I'd drive to New York and help him. I'm being serious.
Yeah, I know.
And
same here. And you're making me all emotional, damn it.
But there's the point I'm trying to make is there's a good point here, and that is this: is you don't have to agree with somebody on every issue to be a friend of theirs and to be a loyal friend. And it's just Pauli. I'm friends with Pauli. I'm good friends with Pauli, and Pauli lives a little bit farther away from me than Eric does, just by a little bit. But, on the same token, everybody in this group here, we all associate in some way, like Glenn. Glenn's from Oklahoma, and
no, I'm not.
Oklahoma. Where you?
He refuses to believe
I am from California, but I live in Oklahoma, even though saying I live from California these days is probably a bad thing. But
Oklahoma is a place to be. Wait a minute.
Long Beach, California, damn it, Southern California. Anyway,
you're a SoCal guy.
I am.
So you were basically that guy with the 6-pack abs surfing on the surfboard with your long blonde hair flowing behind you
Have
and
you
all the
seen
beach
my
waves
body?
on the thing. Glenn, I haven't seen that since you took down your OnlyFans page.
I mean, Mike and Liz call me North Texas's hill giant.
Are you tall?
I'm 6'6".
Holy shit, you're like my old friend Josh, man.
I'm
6
250.
foot
I'm
6.
250, and about 5 years ago, I weighed 350. So
wow, you're as bad as me. What was it, Tina? Back in
He's a tall
2000,
drink of water.
when I married my wife in 2011, I was like 350 freaking pounds.
there was no way I could get any kind of 6-pack down here. It was all.
Oh, I could get a 6-pack down there, but it'd be a 6-pack of pizzas.
Yeah, probably.
That's how bad I was.
I won't argue with that. No.
You know, but real quick.
Okay.
I was going to say there's some good ideas in the chat.
Yes. Oh, hold on a minute. Let's get up here. Paul says a live painting area. If any artists are coming in willing to create unique pieces for sale, the Mork Borg artist did this last week at a con in Europe. We actually have a few people coming. I'd be willing to do some drawing, some quick artwork. I do a lot of artwork. Glenn, you do artwork. You do cartoon.
Theoretically, yeah.
I've seen your work. You do really cool stuff. You got a really unique way you do your art too. Really, really unique.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really good idea, Paul. Thank you. Thyatis says, best advice I've ever given in life is okay to disagree. It's okay to not, or it's not okay to be disagreeable. I agree. Fugly says, I'm of the opinion that most game con goers are rather open-minded, but the Renaissance Fair community surpasses them in being supportive by far. I was a heavy member of the SCA.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know what that is, that's the Society for Creative Anachronism, medieval reenactment, big in Michigan. I actually was one of the co-founders of the Marshall Renaissance Festival.
Really?
Back in the day when the Marshall Ren Fair was a big thing. We actually we started our Ren Fair. It was a muddy, rainy weekend. It was so popular. We got lucky. We had a member of our group that worked for the Marshall school system. They brought school buses in and was busing people in from the parking lot areas. It was so nasty and bad. Thea says he's a reverse Okie. Are you an Okie from Kanogi, or how's that go?
Okie from Muskogee. Although
Okie from Kanoki, right?
Although most of my Monday group for D&D, they were in the SCA, but they go to the castle in Muskogee and do the Ren Fair every year. So there's a castle in Muskogee.
Well, I'll tell you what.
All right, kids, I got to run to my Discord.
Eric,
it's watching hour.
See ya,
have
Eric.
fun. Yeah, we got to be wrapping up here.
Yeah.
Thea says, not your hill giant, more like a troll. Glenn has a duck under ceiling fans.
Well, actually,
we used to do a thing at cons. Actually, if you know people who've got heavy equipment, where you would bring your D&D character out and tell them the equipment you were carrying, and people would basically put you in it. So, all right, so you got a fighter. What are you wearing? Plate armor. One set of plate armor. So you got a backpack. Yeah. You got a coil of rope. Here's your coil of rope. How many weeks rations you got? 3 weeks rations. Okay, 1, 2, 3 weeks rations. Wineskin, of course. Oh yeah, and
gotcha.
A lantern. Yeah, and you get these people laden down like pack mules and like, all right, we have a little obstacle course for you to go through now.
well, Fugly mentions do a paint, a fantasy canvas, and whiskey sample. No. Eric actually is doing a whiskey sample. No, not Eric is not. That's what they do at North Texas.
Yeah, we should do a rum sampling.
Rum sampling. That's right. Me and Glenn's got this under control at WizardCon.
Yeah, we're the rummies.
Well, hey, you can't leave me out. I need a wine tasting. We can
do one of those too.
Yeah, Steve, since we've got authors there, why not just have or add some of the authors to the auction?
Well, remember what I told you we'd have like Thaco's Hammer Live, the AD&D 2E game show. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you something I'd like to do is do, and this is part of what we already have planned is, and other people can do this if they come. I'm going to wander around with my phone and I'm going to go live on Facebook and I'm going to do like interviewing vendors. Tell me about your wares. Go to people who have authors. Tell me about your book.
Keep a channel going.
Yeah, and have like live streams throughout the thing. I did that a couple
I was
times.
doing that for a con here, yeah. It worked
and pretty soon they're going to be looking down the hall going, oh, Jesus, he's coming.
Yep. Darn right. Got my phone. Muskogee is a great fair. Lots of people there. Is that a rhyme? Muskogee is a great fair. Got lots of peeps there.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Run World would be good, or me. Rum would be good.
It would be shameless here.
But everybody, it is past 9 o'clock. We usually do an hour show here. Thank you to everybody who's come in. Pauli, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Been happy to have you on here. We, other people just don't. I think that a lot of people don't understand the history of really what you've done. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's because I'm over in Australia that I'm a little bit invisible because I'm not there at these cons. I'm not wandering around. I'm not someone you accidentally bump into.
It's a shame too because I think that Go ahead, Glenn.
We'll get you over here one of these days.
Yeah,
I used to come over about twice a year. Back in the 80s and 90s because I do the route. I do San Diego Comic Con, Gen Con, and World Con were usually within the same month. So you go over and do 3 cons in a month and just destroy yourself. You just at the end of it, you just be a pale creature, unable to form words.
Yeah. But all right, everybody. Well, Pauli, again, thank you very much for coming on tonight. Everybody else, thank you, Paul, Fugly, Thyatis, again, everybody, thank you for coming in to chat and talk tonight.
Thank her.
And my wife for tolerating me yet again.
Yeah.
She deserves a medal, trust me. But just a little bit of general news. Me and Tino was going through this earlier. We've been promising, but definitely by tomorrow night, the new WizardCon website will be up, so people will be able to buy their tickets and get their stuff done like that. If anybody has any suggestions on what they want to see at WizardCon, by all means, there's going to be a suggestion box there. You click on it, you can send a message to us saying, I suggest I have an idea for this. If there's any indication as to what we've been seeing in the emails, we're going to have a very interesting lot of vendors this year. And I'm actually meeting the new vendor coordinator, or not vendor, the new event coordinator for the hotel. I'm meeting on Monday. I got to meet him. We're going to go through, we're going to do all the seat placement, table placement. We're going to do a little bit more than what the place is designed to hold, just because they're used to like banquet facilities with 6 feet between tables. Mm-hmm. We don't need no stinking 6 feet between tables. We're gamers. So
cram them in there.
Yeah, cram them in there. But
gamers are. Sorry,
yeah, but on the phone today, he did confirm we're going to have, for those of you who would like to eat and drink, the restaurant's going to be open until 10 p.m. on Friday night and Saturday night, and the bar is going to be open until 1 a.m.
Cool. Just give me a table. I'll run some gangbusters. I'll be fine.
Ghostbusters too.
I actually found Australian cons, by the way, they often have a bar on the trade floor. Drunk impulse buying, I think, is the one thing that Australia has brought to convention culture.
John, that's an idea.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing we're going to steal from Central New York Con is we're actually going to have people going to the tables and going, would you like to order some drinks?
We'll bring your wenches
to you. Somewhat wenches.
North Texas, yeah.
Yeah. And then on top of that, along with that, we're going to be doing things like where you can order food at your table. But yeah, so again, everybody, Paul, Fugly, Thyatis, I mean, it goes on and on and on. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Cool. Again, Pauli, you stayed up. No, wait a minute. You didn't stay
What
up
time
early.
is it
You're
there?
just
No, I
waking
got up
up.
early. Just waking up. Yes, I
It's
normally
what, 9
write
o'clock?
till 4 a.m. So
It's
I
what,
got
9
up
o'clock in the morning there?
Yes, or 10, 11 now. So
10, 11? Okay, so Paulie's 13 hours ahead of us.
yes, you've
So,
had
Paulie,
a daylight saving or something.
to you, have a good day. Steve, Glenn, you guys have a good night.
You too.
Tina, I'll see you here in a little bit. So, we'll have a good
Where's
night
the cat?
She's
All right,
here.
guys.
She's not going to wander off.
Oh,
Good
no,
night,
he's not
folks.
wandering off. Good night,
Night,
everybody.
Glenn.
Have a
Night,
good night.
Steve.